Hey, what's up you guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new, my name is Ruben with RTG World Travels blog. Today we're going to be talking about the 10 things you should not do in France. And before we start off the video, guys, I just want to say if you guys are subscribed to the channel and you're watching this, thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot to me because lately every time I've been uploading a travel related video, I've been like losing subscribers, so it just totally sucks. But if you are subscribed and you're watching this video, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot. So let's jump right into the video, guys. So the first thing that you do not want to do when you go to France, guys, is be too loud. As an obnoxious American myself, you do not want to go to France and be an obnoxious American in France. So a general rule of thumb, use your indoor voice even when you're outside. So your indoor voice is also your outside voice, if that makes sense. In France, the people are very respectful about the noise level, like to others. And so they aren't very loud even when they're out. So especially if you're like in a cafe in France or you're in a restaurant in France, you'll notice the loudest people are usually tourists and not the French. And sometimes if you are being too loud, the French will even like turn around, like give you like nasty looks or like even tell you to shut up. So essentially just don't be too loud in France, just mind your noise level. The second thing you don't want to do in France is ask a French person like what part of Paris they're from. And the reason for this is because, you know, France and Paris are two different things. You know, Paris is a city in France, and France is a country. For example, you know, a lot of Americans, you know, think that Paris and France are the same thing, or like they'll think Paris is the country and France might be the city. Americans are stupid like that, and a lot of other tourists are dumb like that too. So definitely don't ask a French person, you know, what part of Paris they're from, because chances are they're not going to be from Paris. And also another thing I want to point out is, like, even if you are in Paris, some of the people you might meet in Paris aren't actually from Paris, and they're sometimes they might be just quite proud that they're not from Paris, that they're not Parisians, and there's just like this distinction between like people that are from actually Paris and then the people that aren't from Paris but they live in Paris. There's a slight distinction on that. So either way, just don't make that touristy, ignorant mistake of assuming that all French people are from Paris, because you know there's way more cities in France than just Paris. So don't make that mistake. So the third thing that you don't want to do when you go to France is if you are invited to like a French family's home or like a dinner party, you do not want to bring wine. And the reason for this is because the hostess or the host of the dinner party, they know what type of wine to provide to their guests, and they know what type of wine to pair with the food. And by you bringing wine to the dinner party signifies that you know more than they do, or that you are smarter than they are, or that they're not as good as you as in picking up the wine. And I understand this might come to as like quite a shocker to most people, just because in most of the cultures, bringing wine is what most people bring to like a dinner party in order to like not show up empty-handed. But by any means, that does not mean just to show up empty-handed. Ask the hostess or host what you can bring and insist on bringing something, whether that just be like a baguette, some candies, maybe even like some dessert, even just flowers too. That might work. But if you're gonna bring flowers, just beware which ones to bring and which ones not to bring. And real quick, just to add on to that, within like the dinner party itself, don't start eating until like everybody's been served, and wait until like the host or hostess says like bon appetit, because that will signify that it's time to eat. And also, if you're gonna serve yourself like water, don't serve yourself water until you have already like offered to serve everybody else water first, or wine. It doesn't matter what. But like, don't serve yourself like a drink before you offer to serve everybody else's first, if that makes sense. And the reason why I'm emphasizing on dining etiquette is because the French take it very seriously. And so you don't want to go to a French dinner party and basically, be rude or disrespectful by not even knowing you're being rude or disrespectful. Just be aware of all that stuff. All right, moving on to number 3. Number 3, this one is sort of like, maybe universal. So don't flaunt your money in France, or to the French people. And I understand this might just be universal, like in any other culture, you don't want to like show off your money. But this is a little bit more detailed, because in France, you don't really want to like talk about your promotion at work. You also don't want to really talk about how much your car costed, Whereas like in other cultures, like in America and maybe British culture, it might be okay to talk about how much your new BMW costs or how much more money you're gonna be making with your promotion at work. But in France, that's not really the case. People don't really talk all about that. And the next don't I have for you guys is don't show up on time. If you want to avoid these, awkward situations where you arrive first and you're there for a few, like actually a while by yourself, don't arrive on time. Actually, be late a little bit sometimes. And the reason I'm saying this is because, for example, if somebody invites you over to their house for to say coffee and they say to arrive at like 3:30, you don't want to arrive actually at 3:30. Because in French culture it's considered respectful to arrive a little bit late in order to give the host or hostess some time to like finish getting ready, because even though they said 3:30, they might not actually be ready at 3:30. So giving them like 20 minutes might give them enough time to actually get everything ready. So drive a little bit late, don't arrive right on time. And also if you are like going to like a party or like a social gathering and they tell you that the party starts at 8 o'clock, trust me, the French aren't going to get there at 8 o'clock. They might even just start eating there like at midnight. The French are notorious for like being late. And so like I would say if you are invited to like a party, if you can, try to tag along with other French people, and so you don't show up by yourself. And if you can't do that, then just show up at like at 12, 11:30. Because that's when the real party starts. And the next don't I have for you guys kind of goes along with the whole social gatherings concept, and that is you don't want to go to a social gathering and not say hi to everybody. And I completely understand this because even in Mexican culture you have to say hi to everybody if you arrive to like a social gathering or anywhere really. And so this is the same thing in French culture. So if you arrive at a party or something, say hi to everybody, introduce yourself, and do the whole like bisous bisous, so like the kiss. It's pretty fun, I would say. And also don't forget to say goodbye to everybody. So you gotta say enchanté to everybody, and like just say goodbye, and like it was like nice to meet them and whatnot. And I know it could be a little redundant and over the top and a little too much sometimes, but that's just the deal when you go to France. And the seventh don't I have for you guys is when you go to a restaurant, don't ask them for a doggy bag or don't ask for your food to go. That's just not customary in France, although I guess you can do it, but the waiter, the chef, and the staff are just going to look at you weirdly, just because that's something the French don't do. In French culture, you're typically expected to finish all of your food, and also it's kind of also disrespectful to like the chef, I would say, just because it's like saying that you don't like their food that much to like eat it all in one sitting, that you have to take it home to like finish it because it wasn't that good or whatever. And just to go along with that, you also don't really want to ask for too many modifications onto your food. The staff just might get irritated by you, so try to keep the food modifications to a minimum. The next don't is really don't say anything negative about like the country or how the country works to the French. The French people are very prideful people, and they take very much pride in how their country runs. And oftentimes a lot of things that you might complain about the country are things that the French want, or the things that the French have fought hard for. So some examples are the reason why like shops close on Sundays. It's fucking irritating to the rest of the world, but to them it's normal because they want to like be able to rest on Sunday and basically not work. Or you also don't really want to criticize how they only work 35 hours a week. To the rest of the world, that seems like a dream come true, right? The French have fought hard for like these levels of social protection, but I will say all these like social protections and not working on Sundays or like only working 35 hours a week, I will say that's part of the reason why the European economy is so stagnant and like why Europe is soft when it comes to economics. But whatever. Sorry, that's just my political science major coming out. So the next don't of France is don't expect the French to not smoke in your face. So I will say the French don't really care about smoking right in front of you or smoking in front of your kids. They don't really care about that. They don't even care about smoking in front of their own kids. But if you really don't want to smell like cigarette or tobacco burning in the air, you're gonna have to move away from them because they're not gonna move away from you. That's just how it is. If you're eating in a cafe or outside of a cafe or something, French people are gonna smoke there, just no matter what. So just get used to that. I know like in other countries, especially the U.S., like if you smoke a cigarette you know, next to like a mother with her children, she's gonna, you know, stare you down like a hawk. But just not in France. And that's just how it is, you know. So you gotta be aware of that. You know, don't expect them to move. You're gonna have to move yourself if you don't want to smell the cigarette smoke. The last don't I have for you guys is don't step on the shit. I know it's kind of an odd don't. And kind of obvious sometimes. And the reason I say this is because France, unlike other countries, they don't have really strict rules on pet owners. They don't really have laws, you know, stating that, you know, pet owners have to pick up after their own pets. I mean, for example, like if, you know, a French person is walking their dog out on the street and that dog just shits on the ground, that French owner most likely isn't going to pick up the shit. They're just most likely not. So unlike in like other parts of unlike in other countries, for example, the U.S., where you have to, you know, if you're a pet dog owner and your dog, you know, shits like in the park, you have to pick that up just because of like hygiene, like keeping the park clean. Or I'll tell you. So in other words, just be mindful of where you're stepping in France, especially at night, because at night, you know, it might just be darker. You might not see the shit on the ground, but there, just be careful, because I'll tell you, when I was in Lyon, there was quite a bit of shit like on the ground, and I remember like seeing it, and I'm just like, dude, like, why aren't these dog owners picking up after their own fucking dog? And I found out that, you know, France doesn't really have like laws, you know, making like dog owners or pet owners pick up after their own pets. Alright guys, so that's gonna go ahead and conclude today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to the end, it really does mean a lot. Like I said earlier, I've been like losing subscribers every time I post a travel video, but if you're here for the travel video, guys, thank you guys so much. And also, I do have a blog out, and I recently just made a blog post about this exact same topic, about what not to do in France. So if you guys want to check that blog post out, I'll link it down in the description down below. So make sure you check that out as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video, guys. Peace.